We have been following over the last 48 hours a rush to virtue signal by Republicans about the United States border with Mexico. Even governors, senators, members of Congress from landlocked, non-border states are jumping in on the bandwagon. Why? Well, because as Joni Ernst said in a video, which we'll look at in a moment, every state is now a border state. First of all, we have to understand at the top level what's going on here. Very little has changed under the Biden administration since the Trump administration as far as immigration goes. What has changed? Well, as the pandemic has eased, depending on how you look at it, mobility has increased, and a lot of the pent up demand from 2020 of folks who did not move physically is now ramping up. That is responsible for part of the increase we are seeing in folks trying to cross. Seasonality plays a role. We talked about that in the spring. In the spring, seasonality plays a role compared to winter months under Trump that are the basis for comparison. But very little has actually changed. The Haitian situation has not been particularly dealt with by Joe Biden, but we don't think it's been dealt with well in a different way than Republicans don't think it's been dealt with well. But Republicans want to make it seem as though Joe Biden has opened the border and is saying, come on in to whoever the hell wants to come in. And I'm going to play some clips for you here of a variety of different Republicans jumping in on the action. Here is Senator Joni Ernst. She's from Iowa, a landlocked state nowhere near the U.S.-Mexico border. Listen to what she had to say.
The reality is that every state is now a border state. All of the issues that are affecting Texas and those that are seeing this sweep of illegals coming across the border, all of those issues are now facing every other state.
Yeah. So the argument that they are making is people might come in through a border state, but then they use extremely dehumanizing language like animals. Cockroaches, they just spread into all these different states. This is the gist. This is the imagery. She goes on to go full Trump in her fear mongering, talking about rapists. That's just they love talking about rapists when they talk about the border.
With an extraordinary number of people crossing the border illegally, of course, we're going to have rapists. We're going to have those that are terrorists. We're going to have other bad people entering.
So if that vocabulary sounds familiar to you, it should, because it's the exact same vocabulary with which Donald Trump opened his 2016 Republican primary campaign for president. Really, in 2015 is when he actually started it. Then we go. This one's just amazing. Ted Cruz puts on a performance. There was a shooting yesterday in Texas, and Ted Cruz has one of these incredible performances where he does his sort of like fake, genuine, very somber, and then pivots directly from the school shooting to just go after Joe Biden for the border. It's weirdly jarring.
And there have been far too many of these at far too many schools. And so we are grateful for the courage and the heroism of the first responders. And we are hopeful that all of the students or individuals who may have been injured will come through and survive.
Right.
We're here today because of the Biden border crisis that continues to rage on the southern border.
Yeah.
All right, so we dropped in there to hear a little bit.
What a transition, folks. What a transition. And a very similar dynamic actually down at the border. Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott went down to the border. They set up an entire dog and pony show with, you can see in the background if you're watching, I see a chopper or two, tanks, I think, armored vehicles of different kinds. And in this clip, you're going to hear Greg Abbott talk about the influx of migrants at the southern border. Take a listen.
This is one of, if not the most urgent matter that we're facing in the United States at this time. And it's time for the Biden administration to wake up and get on the job and do its job to protect the sovereignty and safety of the United States of America.
Now, remember, very little has changed. This urgency is a very concocted, fabricated, essentially out of thin air. What changed? A Democrat is in the White House. That's what changed. We have had an ebb and flow on this issue. We have no permanent status for DACA recipients. We have not done all sorts of other types of reform that have been discussed for a very long time. And this is a virtue signaling party that they are essentially throwing for themselves. Greg Abbott was actually, just to kind of close the loop on the school shooting as well, Greg Abbott was asked about the school shooter, and he said, listen, this is not about gun control because the school shooter possessed the gun illegally anyway.
About the shooting, Governor, are you concerned that the new law of constitutional carry is sending the wrong message to young people and that we could see more school shootings?
So very importantly, with regard to the school shooting that took place today, as well as with really any school shooting that I'm aware of, the gun that was possessed by the shooter was possessed illegally. And we will make sure that laws are enforced and those who act illegally will be held accountable.
So listen, first of all, I'm almost positive that not long ago, we have so many school shootings in this country, it's hard to keep track. But I'm pretty sure that under the Trump administration, I'm not blaming Trump, I'm just saying during the time Trump was president, there was a school shooting where the guns were legally owned, although maybe that was the one in California at the BART station. There's so many shootings in the United States that it's difficult to keep track. But the point is they always go, they go, listen, the laws don't matter because the shooters will just get the guns illegally. But as we've said many times before, if you have more uniform laws, you make it more difficult to just go to the neighboring place to get the guns illegally because there are simply fewer guns around. At some point, the illegal gun was a legal gun. And then something happened. You know, they like to say, well, if guns are stolen, that's no one's fault. But of course, we know there are many other ways that these guns ultimately end up in the hands of people who do wrong with them. So on the shooting, the normal stuff we would expect. But this border craze they all of a sudden have. Fox News with the chyrons and the lower thirds about panic, panic, panic at the border. Remember that very modest changes in terms of circumstances from Trump to Biden. But what's changed is Biden's a Democrat, Trump was a Republican, and now Republicans want to talk about this. Let me know your thoughts. You can find me on Twitter at @dpacman. And remember that on Tuesday, October 19, we are doing a live viewer town hall at 6 p.m. Eastern. It will be streamed live only on the second YouTube channel, Pacman Live. Find it at youtube.com/Pacman Live. And 6 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday, October 19. One of our sponsors is Four Sigmatic, the company best known for their delicious mushroom coffee. Four Sigmatic's mushroom coffee is organic, fair trade, single origin Arabica coffee with both lion's mane and chaga mushrooms. Chaga mushrooms have actually been shown to have potential in supporting the immune system in peer-reviewed studies. I've been drinking Four Sigmatic coffee a lot lately. It actually doesn't taste anything like mushrooms. It just tastes like any delicious coffee, but it's really easy on my stomach, doesn't give me any jittery feeling or a midday crash. And they have over 20,000 five-star reviews. And best of all, if you don't love it, you'll get 100% of your money back because they stand behind their product. You've got nothing to lose by giving it a try. Four Sigmatic is giving my audience up to 40% off and free shipping when you go to foursigmatic.com/Pacman. The link is right underneath this video.